I've been Council Security Chief for 43 cycles, and I pride myself on making newcomers feel welcome. The Galactic Council thrives on cooperation, after all, peace through understanding, harmony through diversity. All those lovely phrases we embroidered on our ceremonial banners. So when I received notification that Earth's first cultural liaison was arriving, I made sure everything was perfect. I smoothed down my flowing teal robes, checked that the bioluminescent patterns across my translucent purple-blue skin were pulsing at a calm, welcoming cyan rather than stressed violet, and positioned myself at the docking bay with what I hoped was a friendly posture. My finned tail swayed gently behind me as I waited, fin ridges along my forearms catching the warm amber light from the holographic markers floating throughout the space. The docking bay stretched wide before me, its warm sandstone floors inlaid with intricate copper patterns that caught the light from the massive viewing windows. Beyond the transparent panels, a nebula swirled in muted purples and blues, creating an atmosphere I'd always found soothing, perfect for a first impression. The airlock hissed open, and Earth's delegate stepped through. She was actually quite pleasant to look at. I'd studied human anatomy extensively in preparation, but the reports hadn't mentioned how expressive their faces were. This one, Laurel, according to my datapad, had wavy chestnut hair pulled back in what I believed was called a ponytail, bright green eyes that seemed to take in everything at once, and a warm smile that immediately put me at ease. She wore a soft mauve blazer over an ivory blouse, charcoal pants, and carried a worn leather messenger bag covered in small decorative pins. "Welcome to Council Station Harmony." I extended both arms in the traditional greeting, trying not to let my melodic hum of excitement become too obvious. The water-like patterns beneath my skin flowed a bit faster with anticipation. "I'm Calder Security Chief. We're honored to have Earth join our diplomatic community." Laurel's smile widened, and she shifted her bag to one shoulder to clasp my hands. Her skin was warm and dry, so different from my cool, slightly damp touch. "Thank you. I'm so excited to be here. I've been preparing for months, but honestly, I'm still not sure I know what I'm doing." She laughed, a bright sound that made my bioluminescent patterns pulse happily. "You'll do wonderfully," I assured her, already liking this human. "First, we'll need to process you through quarantine. Standard procedure for all new species, purely precautionary. Our inspector, Vis, is incredibly thorough but very kind." I guided her through the curved corridors of the station, the walls a soft taupe with bioluminescent strips running along them in muted teal and amber. Occasional panels of aged bronze and verdigris copper broke up the monotony, and I pointed out various features as we walked, trying to help her feel comfortable. "Oh, this place is beautiful," Laurel said, craning her neck to look at everything. "The lighting is so much warmer than I expected. All the sci-fi movies back home show everything as harsh white and clinical. We find that aggressive lighting is unnecessarily stressful," I explained, my patterns flowing contentedly. "Comfort facilitates cooperation." We arrived at the quarantine checkpoint chamber, an octagonal room with walls in deep slate accented with bronze. Scanning arches made of burnished copper stood ready, and warm honey-toned lighting cast everything in a gentle glow. The textured charcoal floor had copper veining that matched the walls beautifully. Vis was already waiting, her elegant form perfectly still, as she reviewed something on her datapad. She was a Solene, with smooth opalescent scales in soft jade, green and cream, that shimmered like precious stones. Her two large almond-shaped eyes, stunning emerald green with gold rings around vertical pupils, lifted to regard us. The delicate scaled crest atop her head, resembling a crown, caught the light beautifully. Her long, elegant tail curled around her feet, and she wore a fitted sage-green jacket with gold accents that complemented her natural coloring perfectly. "Ah, our new arrival." Vis's voice was warm, with a slight purring quality that suggested she was in a good mood. Her scales maintained their jade-green hue, which I'd learned meant she was calm and content. "Welcome, Delegate Laurel. I promise this won't take long." Just need to scan your belongings and ensure you're not bringing anything dangerous to the station. Of course. Laurel set her messenger bag on the metal examination table in the center of the room, completely at ease. I tried to pack light, but I wasn't sure what I'd need. She unzipped the bag, and I felt my patterns flicker with curiosity. First contact with a new species always revealed such fascinating cultural artifacts. Vis reached in with one scaled hand and pulled out the first item, a small bottle filled with dark red liquid. Vis held it up to the light, her pupils narrowing to thin slits as she read the label. Her scales rippled slightly, shifting toward a more blue-green tone. This says, Mega Death Source, Warning, Extreme Heat? Oh yeah, Laurel beamed. I can't eat food without hot sauce. That's actually a milder one. I have a higher tolerance than most people. I felt the temperature around my body drop slightly, an involuntary response to confusion. You consume something called death sauce? Voluntarily? Well, it's not actually. Laurel paused, looking between us. It's just a fun name. It's made from peppers, spicy peppers. They make your mouth burn a little, but in a good way? Vis set the bottle down carefully, as if it might explode. Her scales had definitely shifted to a worried blue-green now, and her tail swished once. You enjoy burning sensations while eating. I mean, when you put it that way, it sounds weird, Laurel said, laughing nervously. It's just flavor. Lots of humans like spicy food. I made a note on my datapad, trying to keep my humming at a calm frequency. The patterns on my skin were starting to pulse a bit faster. Let's continue the inspection. Vis reached into the bag again, more cautiously this time. She pulled out a sealed package of something dark and dried. Her whole body went still as she read the label, and I watched her scales ripple through several color changes before settling on a distinctly alarmed blue-green. This is preserved muscle tissue. Her voice had gone very quiet. From an earth creature called a cow. Beef jerky, Laurel nodded enthusiastically. It's a protein snack, really popular for traveling because it doesn't spoil. You eat other creatures. Vis's statement was flat, and I noticed her pupils had contracted to the thinnest slits possible. Laurel blinked, her expression shifting to confusion. Well, yes, humans are omnivores. We eat plants and animals. Is that not normal here? My bioluminescent patterns were now pulsing, definitely more cyan than I'd like, edging toward concerned violet. I tried to keep my melodic humming steady. Most species in the Council are herbivores or photosynthetic. The consumption of other sentient beings is... Oh, no. Laurel's eyes went wide. Not sentient beings, just animals. Non-intelligent animals. Like, we have ethical guidelines and everything. You have guidelines, Vis repeated slowly, for which creatures you're allowed to consume. This is sounding worse than it is, Laurel said, looking genuinely distressed now. I promise, this is totally normal on Earth. We're not monsters or anything. I wanted to believe her. She seemed so earnest, so kind. But Vis was already pulling out the next item, a collection of colorful medals on ribbons. The Solen inspector held them up, examining each one carefully. These appear to be awards, Vis said, her scales still that worried blue-green. This one says 5K first place. This one says marathon finisher. And this one. She paused, her tail going completely rigid. This one says Tough Mudder, world's toughest event. Oh, I love running. Laurel's face lit up again, apparently not noticing our increasing alarm. I try to do at least one marathon a year. The Tough Mudder was brutal, 12 miles through mud, ice water, electrical wires, the whole thing, but I finished. You run, I said slowly, my patterns now pulsing distinctly violet, for extended distances, through hostile conditions, and you receive awards for this. Well, yeah, it's great exercise, plus the competitive aspect is fun, really gets the adrenaline going. Vis and I exchanged a look. Her scales were practically glowing blue-green now, and my own skin was probably casting violet light across the room. I could feel my melodic humming rising in pitch despite my best efforts. Competitive, Vis said faintly. Adrenaline. Is something wrong? Laurel asked, looking between us with those expressive green eyes. You both seem upset. Not upset, I managed, though my patterns were definitely betraying me. Just gathering information. Please, continue. Vis reached into the bag one more time and pulled out a small device, Laurel's communication device, if I remembered the briefing correctly. But attached to it was a clear case, and visible through the back was a photograph. Several humans on what appeared to be a beach, all of them with their mouths open wide, displaying rows of flat white teeth. Every single one showing their teeth. Is this a threat display? I asked, hearing my voice rise in pitch. The melodic quality was getting away from me entirely. What? No. Laurel took the device, looking at the photo with obvious affection. This is my family. That's my mum, my dad, my 2 brothers, and me. We went to the beach last summer, everyone smiling. Smiling, Vis repeated, her voice barely above a whisper. Her scales were now cycling between blue-green and a pale, almost white color I'd never seen before. You bare your teeth as a sign of happiness. Yes? Laurel looked completely baffled now. How do your species show happiness? Before either of us could answer, my datapad chimed. I glanced down and saw an urgent message from Ovna, the head council diplomat. She'd been monitoring the quarantine scan remotely, as was standard procedure, and apparently she'd seen enough. Calder, I'm coming down. Bring Nim from environmental as well. We need a full threat assessment. I looked at Laurel, who was clutching her phone and looking increasingly worried. She seemed so genuinely confused by our reactions, so completely unaware that every single item in her bag had raised massive red flags about her species' nature. Laurel, I said carefully, my patterns swirling with violet and cyan in my distress. I think we need to have a longer conversation about human culture. I'm going to call in a few more colleagues, if that's all right. Of course, she said quickly, whatever you need. I really want to make a good impression. She laughed nervously. I feel like maybe I'm not doing a great job of that. You're doing fine, I assured her, though my glowing patterns probably undermined the reassurance. We're just learning a lot very quickly. Vis had set down all of Laurel's belongings and was standing very still, her tail wrapped tightly around her own legs, scales still that alarming pale blue-green. She was staring at the beef jerky like it might come back to life. The door to the quarantine chamber slid open, and Ovna glided in, a soft mist already beginning to form around her. The Mistral diplomat's 2 large blue-grey eyes were wider than usual, and her delicate feather crest was standing almost completely upright. Her pale sky, blue to deep ocean blue gradient skin seemed to shimmer more intensely than normal, and her flowing blue-white feathered tail was fluffed up to twice its usual size. She wore her elegant periwinkle garment with silver clasps, though the fabric was rippling slightly from her agitated movements. Right behind her came Nim, the luminous environmental officer. His 2 large violet eyes with silver reflections were fixed on Laurel with a mixture of curiosity and concern. His gentle rounded features, covered in plush silvery white fur with bioluminescent vine patterns, seemed especially soft in the honey-toned lighting. The flowering vines along his shoulders and arms had their tiny glowing flowers in various states. Some bloomed in soft blue and lavender, others tightly closed in white buds. His long, graceful tail swished behind him as he entered, and I caught a whiff of his usual sweet floral scent, though it had an edge of something sharper, like flowers in distress. He wore his soft lavender-grey robe with vine embroidery. "Delegate Laurel," Ovna said, her voice carrying a soft whistling undertone that indicated stress. More mist began forming around her. "I've been reviewing your quarantine scan. I wonder if you might help us understand a few things about Earth culture." "Absolutely," Laurel straightened up, clearly eager to correct whatever misunderstanding was happening. "I really think there's been some confusion about—" "Do you have any images of your home?" Ovna interrupted gently. "Perhaps your living space? We find that personal environments tell us so much about a species. Oh, sure, Laurel brightened, unlocking her phone with quick, precise movements that made all of us flinch slightly. She scrolled for a moment, then turned the device around. This is my apartment. It's small, but I really love it. We all leaned in to look at the image on the screen. A cozy space with soft furniture, pleasant lighting, and... "What?" Nim said very quietly, his flowers closing rapidly as his sweet scent turned distinctly sour. "Are those small creatures on your furniture?" "Oh!" Laurel zoomed in on the image, showing two small furry creatures lounging on what appeared to be a soft resting platform. "Those are my babies. That's Button and Shark. They're my cats." The temperature in the room seemed to drop several degrees, though that might have just been my own involuntary response. My patterns were pulsing entirely violet now, any pretense of calm completely abandoned. "Your babies," Vis said faintly. "Well, not my actual babies," Laurel laughed. "That's just what I call them. They're my pets. Domestic cats. They're really sweet." "Domestic," Ovna repeated, mist now swirling visibly around her entire body. Her feathers were so fluffed they'd nearly doubled her apparent size. "You've domesticated other species." "Thousands of years ago, yeah. They live with us now. In our homes." Laurel scrolled to another image. "This is Button with his favorite toy, and this one is Shark sleeping in a sunbeam. She loves." "Is that a deceased bird?" Nim's voice cracked, his entire body puffing up as his fur fluffed to maximum volume. Every single flower on his vines slammed shut, and the scent coming from him now was almost acidic with distress. I looked at the image. Indeed, the cat called Button was lying on a floor, and beneath its paws was what appeared to be a small, feathered creature, very much dead. "Oh." Laurel's face fell. "Yeah, that was. Button got outside one day and caught a sparrow. I felt terrible about it. But cats have hunting instincts, you know? It's just their nature. I keep them inside now to prevent—" "Hunting instincts," I heard myself say. My voice had gone very high and melodic, all trace of calm authority vanished. "Your domestic companions have hunting instincts." "Well, yes, cats are obligate carnivores. They have to eat meat. But I buy their food at the store. They don't actually hunt regularly." "They don't hunt regularly," Vis whispered, her scales now practically white. Laurel must have finally noticed our collective distress, because her expression shifted to genuine concern. "Okay. I feel like we're having a major communication breakdown here. What exactly is the problem?" Ovna, Vis, Nim, and I all looked at each other. My patterns were swirling violet so brightly I was probably illuminating half the room. Ovna was nearly invisible in her cloud of mist. Vis looked like she might faint, and Nim's flowers were sealed so tightly I worried they might never open again. "Laurel," Ovna said carefully, her soft whistling voice strained, "I need to ask you something very important, and I need you to answer honestly." "Of course," Laurel said immediately. "Are humans—" Ovna paused, then continued in barely more than a whisper. "Are humans predators?" Laurel's green eyes widened. She looked around at all of us, at our obvious distress, our various physical signs of alarm, the way we were all standing slightly back from her now. I watched her face as understanding slowly dawned, followed immediately by horror. "Oh no," she said softly. "Oh no, you're all prey species, aren't you?" The silence that followed was deafening. Finally, in a very small voice, Laurel added, "Would it help if I mentioned that humans are mostly really nice about it now?" My bioluminescent patterns pulsed so brightly violet that everyone in the room cast sharp shadows on the walls. "Mostly really nice about it now?" Ovna's voice had gone up at least 2 octaves, the whistling quality turning into something close to a kettle boiling. The mist around her was so thick I could barely see her gradient blue skin anymore. "What does that mean, exactly?" Laurel held up both hands in what I assumed was a placating gesture, though it made all of us flinch. "Okay, let me explain. Yes, humans evolved as persistence hunters. We used to chase prey until it collapsed from exhaustion, but that was thousands of years ago. We're civilized now. We have agriculture and grocery stores and international humanitarian laws. You chased other creatures until their bodies gave out, Nim whispered, his silvery fur standing completely on end. Not a single flower on his vines had reopened. From exhaustion. But we don't do that anymore, Laurel insisted. Well, I mean, some people still hunt for sport, but it's regulated. And we have vegetarians now. Lots of them. I have several vegetarian friends who are very passionate about. Some people still hunt, Vis interrupted, her scales flickering between white and blue-green so rapidly it was making me dizzy. For sport. This is coming out all wrong. Laurel ran a hand through her chestnut hair, dislodging the ponytail slightly. Look, humans are actually very peaceful now. We've formed a global society. We have the United Nations. We do international cooperation. Show me more pictures from your phone, I said suddenly, my patterns pulsing with violet urgency. Show me what humans do for recreation. Laurel hesitated, then unlocked her phone again. She scrolled to a photo and held it up. This is me finishing the Boston Marathon last year. See? I'm smiling. All of us stared at the image. Laurel, covered in what appeared to be moisture, wearing minimal clothing, teeth fully displayed, holding up both arms in what might have been a victory gesture. Behind her, dozens of other humans were similarly posed. 26 miles, Laurel said proudly. Took me 4 hours and 12 minutes. It's actually not my best time. You ran, I said slowly, my melodic humming now completely out of control, for 4 hours straight. Well, yeah, that's kind of the point of a marathon. Persistence hunting. Ovna breathed, her feathers flattening entirely against her body, in what I recognized as an attempt to appear smaller. You still do persistence hunting. You just call it recreation now. No, it's completely different. There's no prey involved. We're just running. Laurel paused, her green eyes widening. Oh, I see how that sounds. Show us another, Vis said, her voice barely audible. Her elegant tail had wrapped around her legs so tightly I worried about her circulation. Laurel scrolled again, clearly trying to find something less alarming. She held up the phone. This is me rock climbing in Colorado. It's a really beautiful sport, very meditative. You climb rocks? Nim's flowers released a burst of that acidic scent. You scale vertical surfaces? Lots of people do it. It's about problem solving and physical fitness. Ambush hunting from above, I heard myself say. My voice sounded distant, dreamlike. The violet glow from my patterns was so bright now that the warm honey tones of the room lighting were completely overwhelmed. You practice attacking from elevated positions. I'm not attacking anything. Laurel's voice was rising now, tinged with desperation. I'm just climbing for fun because it's challenging. What else do humans do for fun? Ovna asked, and I recognized the tone. She was building a case, gathering evidence. Her diplomatic training was overriding her panic. What other recreational activities? Lots of things. We swim, we play sports, You swim? Vis interrupted. You pursue prey into aquatic environments? We play tag, Laurel said weakly. Children play tag. It's a game where one person chases the others and... She stopped, watching our reactions. You know what? Never mind about tag. Chase, Nim whispered. Children practice pursuit. I needed to sit down, but there were no chairs in the quarantine chamber designed for my body type. Instead, I leaned against the wall, my finned tail drooping, fin ridges limp against my forearms. The cool slate felt good against my translucent skin. Ovna pulled out her datapad with shaking hands, her mist swirling more intensely. She scrolled through something, her blue-gray eyes scanning rapidly. The Council Charter, she said, her voice tight. Article 4, Section 2. It clearly states, no predator species allowed. The words hung in the air like a death sentence. Laurel's face went pale. She looked at each of us, then down at her bag of innocent earth items that had condemned her entire species. When she spoke, Her voice was barely above a whisper, and she leaned forward slightly as if sharing a secret. "I guess that depends," she said softly, her green eyes meeting mine, "on how you define predator." The question rippled through the room like a stone dropped in still water. I felt my patterns flicker uncertainly between violet and cyan. Viss's scales shifted through several colors before settling on a confused mixture of blue, green, and gold. Nim's flowers twitched, some opening slightly, others remaining closed. What do you mean?" I asked carefully. Laurel straightened up, gaining confidence. "I mean, humans haven't actively hunted for survival in thousands of years. Most of us have never killed anything. We protect endangered species. We rescue injured animals. We formed complex ethical frameworks about the treatment of all living things." She gestured to her phone. "My cats. I keep them inside specifically to protect wild birds. Doesn't that count for something?" "But the instincts remain," Ovna said, though her tone was less certain now. "The competitive nature, the endurance, the cooperative hunting in groups." "We call those team sports now," Laurel interrupted gently. "And yes, we're competitive, but we channel it into games and business and academic achievement. We've redirected our instincts toward building civilizations instead of hunting prey." I found myself considering her words. My patterns began to shift toward a warmer blue. "You're saying humans have evolved beyond their predator nature?" "I'm saying we've transcended it," Laurel said firmly. "We recognized what we were and chose to become something better. Isn't that more impressive than never being predators in the first place?" Viss's scales were definitely shifting toward gold now, her pupils dilating to a more relaxed state. "She has a point. Self-domestication requires incredible cognitive ability and social cooperation." "And the teeth display?" Nim asked, though his fur was beginning to settle and a few more flowers had opened. Evolutionary repurposing," Laurel explained. "We took a threat display and transformed it into an expression of joy and connection. We literally changed an aggressive signal into a peaceful one." Ovna lowered her data pad, mist thinning around her. "So you're arguing that humans aren't predators anymore, they're reformed predators?" "We're proof that nature isn't destiny," Laurel said, "that any species can choose peace over violence, cooperation over competition. Isn't that exactly what the Galactic Council is supposed to represent?" I felt my patterns shifting fully now, from stressed violet to something warmer, almost golden cyan. She was right. Everything about human evolution, the persistence, the tool use, the complex social structures had been redirected towards civilization building. They were predators who had chosen diplomacy. "This changes everything," I said slowly. "You're not a security threat. You're a case study in successful species reformation. The Council Charter says no predator species allowed." Ovna said thoughtfully, her feathers beginning to settle into their normal, elegant position. "But it doesn't say anything about former predators, or rehabilitated predators." "Honorary prey?" Viss suggested, her scales now a content gold. A soft purring hum had returned to her voice. "Apex predator emeritus status," Nim added, his flowers opening more fully, releasing sweet floral scent again. Laurel looked between all of us, hope and relief flooding her expressive face. "So, I'm not being sent home?" "Absolutely not," I said, extending both arms toward her again. My patterns pulsed with genuine warmth now. "You're going to be our star example, proof that any species, no matter how they evolved, can choose peace." Ovna started typing on her data pad. "I'm recommending emergency council session. Formal designation, Earth Predator Rehabilitation Success Model. Special status, Honorary Prey, Emeritus Class." "Welcome to the Galactic Council, Laurel," Viss said, her scales glowing beautiful gold now. "You're about to make history." Laurel's face broke into a wide smile, all her teeth showing. This time none of us flinched. "Well, maybe just a little,"